Hey, beautiful souls, and welcome to the LilliBean studio. Today, I wanted to share a little behind the scenes look at creating my latest painting, If Only I Were a Little Braver. So grab a drink and settle in. This painting didn't come from the usual thought or feeling or any other place that my inspiration tends to come from. It came from a dream. And yes, I know only the dreamer thinks their dream is interesting. But in my dream, I was showing my latest painting to a crowd and talking about it. I looked at the painting, which was of a woman surrounded by flowers and a pink background, and in the bottom corner was a small raised heart with the word brave on it. When they asked me what the name of this painting was, I replied, If only I were a little braver. When I woke, I grabbed my journal and I scribbled it down before heading out for a walk. And then I forgot about it. A couple of days later, I remembered the painting and I dug out my journal. I remembered the feeling I had in the dream, standing there talking about the painting, and I thought, what if I put it onto canvas? What if I just sketched it? What if I just sat in the easel and let this painting appear? What if I were just a little bit braver? I think the dream had already told me everything I needed to know. Behind the scenes, there is a collection I'm working on that I'm actively avoiding. I've done the research, I have the canvases in the studio, I have the thumbnails sketched, and yet it still sits in my workbook waiting for me to be a little braver and start the collection. I've done nothing but think about it since February. So this dream painting became a rather fabulous distraction from the collection I am actively avoiding. And at first everything flowed, the colours, the surprising layers poking through. Unusually, I was happy with the first sketch. The paint flowed, everything was coming together until I sat down to add the flowers from my dream. And it felt like I ran into a brick wall face first. The whole time I was painting those flowers, I was unsure. It felt clunky. The colours felt jarring, and I hated the flowers the dream showed me once I put them on the canvas. After 4 frustrating hours, I hated every part of it. And I debated giving up. After all, I had just written a blog post on the beauty of giving up projects that weren't working for me. But I just kept remembering the dream, the feeling, the words. If only I was a little braver, kept swirling through my thoughts. I have always been a big believer in synchronicities and signs, and I've talked about it extensively regarding my artistic journey. While I was ignoring this painting, I started having all kinds of universal nudges to keep going. One morning I woke up with the words, She remembered she was brave, echoing in my mind. I pulled a tarot card referencing decisions, bravery, and making the big leaps. I heard Sarah Bareilles' song Brave randomly on the radio. My mum rang and started talking about a radio segment about bravery that she'd heard that day. And I spoke to a friend over coffee who told me to be kind to my painting because she was looking pretty good. So I knew it was time to put on my big girl pants and start again. I still wasn't painting braver, and yes, I was procrastinating again. So I was in the middle of playing in my sketchbook when I realised I had the solution all along. One of the big blocks I was having was what if I ruined the painting when I loved 90% of it by trying to cover up the flowers I hated? And while I was messing around with inks and gold pens and collage, I remembered how I would work in my COVID sketchbooks. There was no rules, it was just play. It was a light bulb moment. What if I recreated Braver in one of those sketchbooks and made changes? So I opened up an old sketchbook and began recreating the painting. And I realized the problem with my canvas was threefold. One, I haven't painted a larger canvas in a couple of years. And in that time, I completed 44 oracle paintings. And so my style has changed quite a bit. I think seeing her on my easel was a little off-putting for that reason. And yes, I know I need to get over that one. Two, the flowers weren't mine. I was using a reference photo that was like the flowers in my dream, but they didn't feel like me. In my sketch, the one that I did in my COVID diaries, those flowers are me, and I think they work much better. Well, I'm certainly more happy with them. And finally, I had a new idea for the heart, which I was stuck on, and it is different from my dreams, but like the flowers, that was okay too. I didn't have to literally recreate the painting in my dreams. I just had to recreate what felt good for me. And I realized that bravery wasn't actually finishing the painting, it was simply continuing it. Sitting down to paint it after this time felt equally terrifying and liberating. Would my changes work on the canvas? Would I like the end result? And I realized I had to stop thinking about the painting as a whole and just focus on this section, this brushstroke, this shadow. which is what I did until the very last brushstroke on my signature. And once I sat back and looked at the final painting, I realized that during this whole process of painting, feeling stuck and painting again, I kept mulling over the same question. What would I do if I were just a little braver? What would I create? What would I say yes to? And more importantly, what would I say no to? What would I finally begin? I think this painting is really about remembering that bravery rarely arrives all at once. Sometimes bravery is simply in the next brushstroke, the next conversation, the next small yes. And maybe we already carry the courage we need, and this painting is the reminder. And honestly, if this painting has taught me anything, it's that I need to stop procrastinating on that collection that I have been thinking about since February and start working on it too. And because she has reminded me that I have all the bravery I need to start those paintings. And I hope she reminds you that you have all the bravery that you need too. If Only I Were a Little Braver is now available as an original painting and as prints. You can order those on my website. Just follow the links below. If you want to see more behind the scenes painting videos in your feed, please like, follow, or subscribe. And if you feel called, please leave a comment about how you're going to be a little bit braver today too. From my whimsy world to yours, this is Kirsten from the LilliBean Design Studio.